Right.
Yep.
Welcome, everybody. It's Tuesday morning and it's the first of the month and we're here for our open mastermind. So this is where we all get to collaborate together and brainstorm together and talk about what each other's doing in their business to carry their business through these crazy fun times in what we call real estate. So let's open it up because that is just what we're going to do today. It's just mastermind. So does anybody have something amazing that they've been doing that's working, that's bringing them business that they could share with the group?
Um, I'll comment on something that I was doing that was not amazing, but just Jeff, we talked here recently
Yeah.
on a buyer lead marketing that I was doing with the Smart Social Facebook leads. Has anybody heard of that?
I haven't heard of those.
Well, good. It was one of the options, like Nosy Neighbor goes after sellers. Smart Social went after that. Long and short, Jeff, I did get that resolved.
Okay, good.
Had to file a complaint with the BBB, but that did get resolved, and they refunded this last month's charge.
Good. Okay.
So got that squared away. So yeah, stay away from Smart Social leads.
Good to know.
That's
I'm glad
good.
I got figured out for you.
Did you find them off of Facebook? How did you come across them?
They're attached to KV Core.
Oh, okay. So good
They're
to
they
know.
are one of the vendors. So there's Nosy Neighbor, there's 360 Smart Social leads, as they call them. One has a concierge service. I chose the one without the concierge service and just focused on the number of leads. They delivered one over half. Like, I'm going to give you 90 leads, you'll get 46. So, and that was on a good month. And so they would not return my money no matter what I did. They said you can't cancel. So it was not good. It wasn't good, but it's resolved now. I had to go through a lot of headaches to get there.
Well, good to know. So obviously KV Core is their own company with Inside Real Estate, but since many of us are with EXP and this is open to everybody, so there may be visitors on here, guests on here that aren't with EXP, but it's just good to know since that's the platform that we use with your experience.
Yes. So file a complaint with the BBB. And believe it or not, there were many complaints for Inside Real Estate, which is that setup. There were many complaints there that they are not very user friendly to play with. If you want to get your money back or try to cancel anything, it's unpleasant.
Well, I'm glad you're able to get that resolved.
Yes.
That's big. So who else?
Can I ask something, Kathy, real quick? How many of you guys, like from last Tuesday's training with the landing pages, how many of you guys have done anything with that? Because that's really been, I mean, that was a great training. If you weren't on last Tuesday, if you haven't watched that, go back and watch it. Because that I've been using some of that. That's been working well in terms of, and it's so simple to set up. It just wasn't something I'd ever done, and unlike, something you add on to KV Core, it was free, to do. It just takes about 5 minutes. Honestly, you can set up a page in 5 minutes. It was really good. Shantae, you can find all of the recordings. If you're part of EXP, you can find them in Workplace in our Freedom Team group. If you're a guest with us, whatever, let us know. We can certainly get you the recording. Okay. Happy to do that. So, but yeah, that was good. I mean, we had several really good trainings last month on, with KV Core. So anyway, yeah, go ahead, Kathy.
I was going to say though, that's a good point. Because there's just doing that, that's the avenue to take starting your KV Core out, is the free advertising. Start building yourself some landing pages because you can do all kinds. So to generate leads, for new construction, for, houses with pools in your area, whatever it is. Like you come up, she in that training gave a lot of great ideas, 55 and up communities. And so I would encourage, and you can boost the posts, right? So you can drive more traffic by just spending a few dollars to boost your post. So if y'all are just starting to do online leads, that's a great point, Jeff. Utilizing that and putting out a handful of different landing pages. Number one, for free, but then you could just, if you want to get a little bit more up to it, just put a few dollars behind it and boost the post. So yeah, good post. So I'd encourage, if you're looking to do online leads, that's a no-brainer if you're with EXP, in my opinion.
Yeah.
To go utilize that. And we have that training, like you said, to go back and watch.
Sure. And let me just show everybody, Shantae, just to answer your question, others probably have this question as well. If you're ever looking for any of our trainings, okay, you can go into Workplace, go to the Freedom Team group in Workplace, which you should all be a part of. If you're not, let us know. We'll add you. We try and add everybody as they join us, with EXP. But right here, if you go to the Freedom Team, then click on the Learning tab right here, and it brings up 2 guides. Okay, one guide is all of our Monday trainings on agent attraction right here, and then we have this one right here, get more transactions. So right there's the training from last Tuesday. Okay, this mastermind will be uploaded later today, and it will be in here. But they all go in order. You can see right here that see 118 more. There's a couple years worth of these, and everything we do on Tuesdays is all in here. So that's where you find it. Just know that's where to go. Okay. And it'll lead you straight to the recording for that. So anyway, Toy, you got your hand raised.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Yes,
Good to see you.
I just wanted to share that training was amazing, and I actually did implement the post to Craigslist, and it is amazing. And I won this hat the other day, so applying everything together because of the interest rate in the market, it's assuming loans. So, and investors can actually assume VA loans. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that, but that's something I learned. And so by posting that and having KV Core just automatically just spits out everything, and then I go there and I edit the title and put investor friendly, investor welcome, assumable VA loan 2.25%, lowest ever you're gonna get. So I've been testing it. I did 2 for the first 2 days because I didn't want to overdo it because what she said about the limit. And then as I went on, I tested it and pushed the max, see what I could do. And I actually did 5 in one day without it kicking me out. So I stopped at 5, but I've been consistent at it. I haven't got anything yet, but just the consistency of doing something and seeing something like that, it's really amazing. So yeah, it was good.
That's awesome.
That's
Very
so
cool.
good. So
Yeah,
talk
she talked about that.
real quick, because that's a unique spin to, in this market with the interest rates being higher compared to what they were 4 years ago. So talk about a little bit about those assumables, FHA, there's some you can assume some FHA loans from back then. And like you just mentioned, the VA loans. And so are you just doing all your advertising around those just through KV Core, using landing pages, doing that?
You could do it that way, or that company assume me does that as well, and helps you promote your listing as far as that, and others as well that do it. But honestly, I was so surprised, even with our own marketing EXP, with hundreds and hundreds of listings, even with FHA, there was like a handful that understands assume and actually help their seller understand that to get that rate. But yeah, you can do it both ways.
So maybe we could talk about this for just a minute, because like you said, a lot of people don't realize to even talk to their sellers about that. So why don't you talk about that a little bit, since you're doing it? I'll fill in what I know. But why don't you talk about what that looks like, how you would talk to a seller, the questions you would ask your seller if you're going in to have a listing. So why don't you talk about it? And like I said, I'll fill in. And anybody else, if you guys are doing this, Sean Corbett, if any of y'all are doing this, I think this is a good topic, and one that a lot of times we forget about when we're going in talking to our sellers, to see if to ask them if their loan is assumable.
just want to mention, I just want to mention if you're going to do it and you're going to interview, I actually had one where the seller said, "Hey, yeah, my loan's assumable." Find out what your title company is doing, because most of the title companies I talk to right now, Jeff, you probably would say this, it's 90 days.
Wow.
90 days to get an
60 to
assumable loan
90,
done.
yeah. There's pros and cons to it, but yeah, they say 60 to 90. It depends on the servicer, depends on the seller's lender. Some are slower, some are, yeah, but 60 to 90.
Yeah.
We've done a couple now. I know one was it was about 3 months to get it done. So
Yeah. So, my point there though is it's a good option to know
It
about.
is.
And you just, it's a question to ask your seller. Hey, is your loan assumable? If they think it is, or if they don't know it is, I would call the lender myself, regardless of whether they think it is or isn't. I would want to talk to the lender myself to verify that it was assumable, and what guidelines that they, that need to be followed in order for a buyer to assume it. But if somebody's at a 2.5%, a 3.25% interest rate, that gives you a whole nother angle to market that property for. And whether you sell it that way or whether you don't sell it that way, you likely are going to pick up more buyers that are going to be calling you, inquiring about, that property, because, a 3% loan nowadays is quite attractive to somebody. So Suzanne, I think it's VA, all the government loans. So the FHA, Jeff, isn't that what you guys were dealing with? It was an FHA loan?
it was a VA, what we were doing.
VA.
Yeah.
I think both of them are. And my understanding is that it doesn't, for the VA loans, it does not have to be a veteran to assume that loan.
100%.
Doesn't.
Yeah. So it doesn't limit it just to the veterans to assume that loan. It opens it up to all your buyer pool.
Here's a gold nugget for you guys that I got from it. 70% of assumable loans are VAs, and the majority of buyers are Indians. So if you want to target your marketing, those the KPI to follow.
Interesting. Any questions or input around that? Anybody? Has anyone else doing that? Talk to their sellers about that?
And maybe somebody can ask, I heard somewhere or I read it that when a buyer is applying to get that assumable rate, and this is something I don't know, I'm asking here. I heard that the buyer does not get it at the exact rate that the seller had it at. There are calculations that go through their current interest rates, but it's not the exact. Does anybody know?
That's called a blended rate. You're probably talking about the blended rate, but the original rate, they do keep the original rate. If there's a second mortgage, and the second mortgage is a lot higher, but they blend it together, so that gives them that new rate. But once that second mortgage is paid off, it goes back to the original seller's rate.
Okay, and you don't know what the percentage of
It
that
varies.
would be.
Yeah, that's what you said. It varies. It can go all the way up to 11 to 18%. Yeah, that does vary. Yeah.
Okay.
But overall and average wise, it's irrelevant because it's still lower than the current market with the blended rate. But once it's paid off, it goes back to the low rate.
Okay.
So just an avenue when you're, getting listings, talking to sellers, to bring up to yourself to find out, is their loan assumable? Is that a marketing avenue for yourself? Sean Corbett, you came off mute. Did you have something to add?
Sure. I mean, I've done a few of these now. So the assumables, couple things. The marketplace here in Dallas-Fort Worth, it's a very low inventory marketplace for assumables. I do two things. When I get on and look for assumable, you look for, ours is called listing terms. It used to be financing options. For some reason in our marketplace on Netris, They don't use the buyer option financing options as the options to select. You actually use something called listing terms. I don't know if they do that in other markets, but a lot of our MLSs look pretty similar. So if you go to listing terms, one of them is the option of assumable. You can look that way. And then the other way is I use the property description. I asterisk assumable asterisk, right? And then we'll look that way. So it's two ways you can kind of capture, and they are different. They're different inventory there. I actually caught one that I was able to secure and finance because I had a buyer that had cash. You got to have money to do the equity shortage. And then they were able to finance and do the assumable. And I had another one using the other search and found one for them. The second one was a VA. And I know y'all guys talked about VAs. You don't have to be a veteran, but it does stay attached to the house. So the seller has got to be willing to lose that. And it's just something that comes up. And normally it's not the lender we're talking to. I think, is it Thoy? Is that how you say your name, Thoy?
Toy. Yeah, you are correct, Sean.
Okay.
It's the
that.
servicer.
So yes, correct. It's the servicer, right? And you're sharp. You're saying a lot of the right things. I appreciate your input here. You got to go past the lender. Lenders don't have any idea. They don't have any control over those things. It's the servicer that we want to be able to contact and have that conversation with. I've not listed one as an assumable because my inventory keeps selling pretty quick. I've got one house for sale right now, and I'm probably going to sell it now. I think they have their second showing. They want to buy it. So, all my difficult houses I was able to sell. Thank God. But our inventory is still pretty low here in Dallas. So a lot of people aren't like forced to have to find other ways to sell property. I will tell you guys, just as a general, problem that we're dealing with and working through right now is we're only finding people that are desperate or are forced to buy or sell. And that's kind of what we're stuck with, right? Everyone's got this waiting game on the buy side, and the sell side, they don't have an exit strategy that's motivating them enough to sell. Normally, we all make money on turnover. Turnover is slow because the only ones moving are the ones in the most desperate position. So I wanted to throw that point out. I'm trying to think if I had anything else for assumable. I think that's probably it for now. No, anyway, that was my points.
Point, Sean. So who are those desperate people which can give you, as you're going forward in your marketing and you're looking for lead captures, whatever it is you're doing, who are those people? It's the people divorcing, it's the estate people, right? Who are some others? So that's a good avenue, because I agree with Sean. That's a lot of who is selling these days are people that are in that forced position.
I'll give you the most generic answer for all of us in real estate is the number one people to sell if they add or take one away. You get that data, then you're going to have the greatest opportunity. We lose a kid to college. We lose a spouse. It could be death, could be divorce, whatever it is. That's always the number one category that people make a decision. I no longer need to be here, or I need more. Is if you add one or take one away. So that's, if you can focus there, you'll find your sellers.
Take one away. 25 years in real estate. I've never heard that
Thank
term.
you. Thank you, Sean. That was amazing.
I like it. Add one or take one away. There you go. Those are your target markets.
I'm on the right track then. So conventional loan, like you said, Kathy, are also assumable, like you said, but they have to be in distress, like Sean said. Something have to be going on with them. So yeah, those are assumable as well.
Yeah. All right. What else do y'all have that's working out there in the real estate world? Sean just dropped a big fat nugget there. Add one, take one away. That's going to be my new motto.
I got another topic for the next
Suzanne?
topic. I'll do it next.
Okay.
This isn't things I've had luck with. It's a question that I came across yesterday, and following Sean's thing about taking one away. I have a ex-title connection that can pull somehow. She has, can pull stuff when people, I don't know what her name was, but when somebody dies or whatever. how can I go after those properties without looking like, you know, I'm that used car salesman and like, you know, just hounding? Because I mean, more likely they're going to need to sell it anyway, but I don't want to, you know, and I would love to get that deal, but I don't want to be the, you know, rude, obnoxious person that, you know, is hounding them because somebody died in their family.
So I'll give my input and then somebody else can give their, is this somebody you know?
No, a title lady, I guess she somehow can pull this information. I'm not sure exactly where. I haven't met with her yet, but it was a connection from somebody else. And, you know, more like kind of doing that as part of my, I guess, trying to reach out to leads. But I, you know, definitely didn't want to be the hawk coming in or whatever.
So again, I'll tell you what my thoughts are, because I've done probably in the last 6 months, I've done 3 estate sales. They've all come to me just through referrals. So what I would tell you is those people, whoever is inheriting and whoever's responsible for dealing with everything, including the estate and the property, are completely overwhelmed and completely lost. They have no idea where to start. They don't know what to do. And so if you want to go with a softer approach, whether you call them or whether you do a mailing to them, I would go in as a helping hand. Look, I've been doing real estate for this many years. I've done a lot of estate sales, and what I have found is people who inherit properties are completely overwhelmed and lost, don't know which way to turn. And I am here as a resource for you. And I would go in with a soft approach in that way, or that's a potential way to do it. I'm here for a resource. You call me with any questions you have, because if you can start earning their trust, but yet, like you said, go in like a hawk, that's one way, you know, because they're lost. They need somebody with experience and know what they're doing to help guide them through the process.
Well, thank you. That's kind of what I was thinking, but I figured I'd hit the expertise of you guys.
Anybody else market to that group, and what is your strategy in marketing to those, if that's what you, if anyone does? Sorry, does anybody? Nobody goes that direction? Or, okay, does anybody have any other advice for Suzanne? If she's got access to go after these group of people, how would you handle it? Sean, what would you do in that situation?
She's looking to connect with people that are selling estate sales. Is that what you want to build opportunities for? Is that what you're asking for, Suzanne?
Not necessarily estate sales, but people where the owners recently died. I don't know how the title person has a jump on the leads, but from what I heard, we could get in there before, you know, everybody and their brother knows that, you know, these people might be potentially selling. But I wanted to do it from a, you know, helping standpoint, from a not the vulture type of thing.
Yeah, I can give you a lot of different points. Okay, so let's talk through that a little bit. First of all, if you got a lead through the title company, that'd probably be a great place to start. Now, keep in mind, I don't build a business on cold markets, so I'm not reaching out to, you know, attorneys or for sale by owners or any of that kind of stuff. That's not my market, but I'm pretty good at kind of solving problems. If that's a solution, an opportunity, and you can add a value to a title company working with a client, then why not build some type of, hey, by the way, Mr. and Mrs. Title Company, this is a service that I can do to help you try to deal with these estate issues, right? We're trying to get these things closed. I make a marketing opportunity to try to help move these properties. Use the term vulture. You need to flip it, right? So I've moved over 100 off-market properties, and the way the strategy is you're doing as a service, right? It's exactly what Kathy said. Their position is not, you're here to take advantage of me. Their position is, I don't know what to do. And that's probably 80% of them are going through that. They have no idea, what do I do with this stuff? What do I do with heirs and dealing with the will? So my solution, and your best, also another good, really place to go, is to go to like estate attorneys that have these things set up, because the hardest thing for people to move is real estate. You know, I don't know if you know it. If you've got 3 heirs, it's real hard to cut your house 3 ways.
Right.
And everyone has different purposes and reasons for things. And I'm a big proponent of people building net worth through real estate, but there's a point in time you need to de-escalate, because leaving a bunch of houses to heirs that don't want them is just creating a lot of stress for them, and they're going to discount them all and lose a bunch of money anyway.
Right.
So I would make sure we stay in contact with them. One of the things that I've gotten pretty proficient at is working with people that have a house they don't know what to do with. And it's exact what you're talking about.
So would you reach out to these people via phone, or, as Kathy mentioned, a mailer?
Absolutely. They made the
Um,
connection, say, hey, they asked if you could use some help getting through this stressful time.
Okay.
You're there to help them. Like, hey, you know, and there's no cost for me. I just want to help you facilitate this going from start to finish. You know, our exit plan is to remove all the items. And a lot of people, you know, even on this call, they don't get past solving real estate problems. Real estate problems sometimes are disconnected from just the real estate, right? We've got other things that are involved that we have to deal with. And being able to offer a problem solving solution. I mean, Kathy's not in there taking all this stuff out of the house. She has contractors that she calls and coordinates with. You know,
Right.
that's our job, is we offer solutions. So solutions are, I'll get 3 bids on estate planning and sales or things like that, and then I'll work on the real estate part for you. You know, and you're not having to charge them anything for any of this. Your goal is to ultimately get that listing, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're in the
Okay.
business to sell property, and we're in the business to solve a real estate problem. They have a real estate problem and they don't know how to deal with it. So taking over a lot of that will help you get to your end goal and help them get to their end goal, and they'll love you for it.
Nice. One quick question. I don't know if you or anybody would know. In your example of 3 people inheriting it, if they were going to get capital gains on that, can they immediately do a 1031? You know, like maybe 2 of them want to get a new investment property, but they don't want to be, you know, with their sibling or whatever. Can they take that money, use it as a 1031, and buy something else, maybe somewhere else? Because here in Colorado, it's not a very landlord friendly state anymore.
Okay. Well, they can't buy a personal property with 1031, so they're gonna have to buy another
Right.
investment
But I mean, an
related
investment.
property. There's something that has to trigger the 1031 option, and that's beyond my scope. I have not done a lot of
Okay, thank you.
1031s, but there's probably something that has to trigger that 1031 option for them to consider all the cash coming out of that house as a 1031 exchange opportunity. And you've got it also, if you got 3 people, you're selling it, whoever's wanting to exercise that option has got to be ready to rock and roll, because you have a short period of time. You've got to be able to
Right.
facilitate and find another property. There's a lot of moving parts. You want to partner with somebody that's good at 1031s is what you're going to want to
Okay.
do. That's not something I would tell you to take on yourself.
Oh, no, definitely not. Thank you.
Sure.
Third piece of property, I don't think you can go do a 1031. I think Sean said that. So they can't take that money. But what my experience is, and I haven't delved into this enough to find the ins and outs, and I would talk to your real estate attorney, but I think in many cases, if not all, so I'm just going to say many, they're exempt from, they're exempt with, depending on the price of the property, unless it's, you know, in the millions. I think they're exempt from inheritance tax. So in the
Thank you.
experience that I've had with those 3 that I've sold in the last 6 months, they didn't have tax implications. So you might talk to your attorney to find out, you know, when does somebody have tax implications on an estate sale when they've inherited it?
I mean, they just take the money and then go buy an investment
Buy
property.
something,
At that
exactly.
point,
Yeah.
now you can 1031, because now it's an investment property with the intention of that's the purpose of it.
Yeah.
So
But I
that's
think
good.
she was thinking they were going to get hit with an inheritance tax, and was trying to avoid that. But in many, again, the 3 I just sold didn't have that. And I didn't delve into enough questions about, we asked that on the front end, and they didn't have taxes. I didn't ask, do they ever inheritance tax? You know, I didn't find that. I didn't dig deeper on that. I just knew the 3 that I sold weren't going to be implemented that, or impacted that way.
I've got another exercise for us, Kathy, if you want another topic.
Yeah. Just before we move to another topic, does anybody have any questions or input around what we're talking about with the estate situation? If not, we'll move on. All right. What you got, Sean?
So I mentioned that we have a motivation issue for buyers and sellers. Buyers, with the interest rates and everything else, inventory low, they're creating a challenge on getting them excited about property. There are a lot of opportunities outside of MLS for finding properties. And I think that's, again, we have a problem we're solving, right? So I have a buyer that needs to buy a property, 500,000 in this city or this school district, and MLS is just not getting us what we're looking for. There are probably at least 10, 12 other alternative options we can dig in to bring those properties to them. So that was something that I've done the exercise years ago when we had inventory issues. And like during COVID, right? We had shortage of inventory. I would say, you don't have to just start with MLS. I mean, if you can't find what you're looking for, that does make it easier because it has, BACs built in, it has title being paid by seller, all the things that we typically expect in a transaction. So one of the examples, for example, would be, it used to have Zillow Make Me Move was an option, but they've removed that. They don't offer that anymore. So Zillow still has FSBO on Zillow. Okay, so you can still dig non-MLS properties on FSBO and Zillow. I wanted to throw that out to any of you. I'm just giving one example. I've got several others. If you have sources in your marketplace that you can now find inventory for buyers that you're not able to find inventory for, you'll have options or places you go to find those buyers, or ask other agents that haven't posted anything. That creates opportunities as well. Any of you have other options out there? Just want to throw that out there. How about you, Kathy? Is there a place you might go to?
Well, in Nashville, in Middle Tennessee, somebody a long time ago started a Facebook group with coming soon listings or off market listings. And so here for us, that's another good place. And so if you don't have that in your area, maybe you be the one to start that. Right. So it's just all these agents collaborating, and they might know of a property. How many times as real estate agents does somebody say to us, I don't want to list my property, but if you found a buyer for me, I'd consider selling it. Right. So those are the type of homes that are in that group a lot of times. So again, maybe you start a group in your area if there's not one. So that's one thought.
I'll give another one. Post in workplace, right? I mean, you can certainly post in our workplace for buyer needs. I see needs all the time, and they have specific needs that they're not going to be able to find on the market. And other EXP agents like, hey, I know I'm going to be listing one in the next month or so. Let's work a deal. Keep it in-house. Let's sell to EXP.
And
We have the leverage to do it.
Yeah, with ZenList.
Yeah, that's one of my options too, ZenList. Any of you posting your listings, I think most of us should be by default flowing into ZenList their listings. Is that the way you guys are setting it up? And I've posted some off-market things that I knew that my seller didn't want to get on the MLS for whatever reason. And I've used ZenList to post. And the inventory is going to climb. Right now it's real small still, but it's growing. I bet it's doubling every month. So eventually we'll get up to a sizable marketplace where we can actually have, with 95,000 agents, some leverage over these MLSs where they don't have to control us.
Yeah.
So
Tracy, you use ZenList, haven't you? You put your stuff out there, don't you?
I used it one time, Kathy, and so still don't have a full understanding of it, but I did get a lot of calls from that one listing that I put on there, and I sold it, and I got a lot of calls, so it's definitely popular.
Okay.
How about Facebook Marketplace? It's good for rentals. You can also find homes on Facebook Marketplace that aren't always posted. They're just individuals posting. Obviously, you guys, ZenList is free. It doesn't cost anything. Do they have a Premier subscription? Because it's always been free to me.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
Does anybody know that for sure? I've not seen Premier, but Right now, I think it's fairly new for EXP, so I don't think there's a cost.
It was free for me.
Mm-hmm.
Pocket listing websites. So this goes back to you, Kathy.
Yeah.
It's a similar type situation where you had a local Facebook group. Hey, let's post our listings that we don't want to show yet, but we do know are coming soon, and we can try to like get a head start on it. Pocket listing websites have been under attack for a long time. It's a direct attack on the MLS, right? So, but it creates an opportunity for you to have other places to go to do a better job for your client, to find them those opportunities. That's a value add. We're here to work for the buyer and the seller. If I can hit a grand slam for them, and I'm a client, they're a client for life. These are the type of ways that we do that. You guys all know MLS coming soon. We have a lot of restrictions here in our marketplace. Can't show it. I think probably a lot of you have the same things. No one's allowed to see it, but you can post it to get initial, hits on it. Contact agents that sell a lot of houses in that area. They have the pocket listings. I'll tell you what. I had a closed community. There's about 3 or 4 agents selling almost all of the houses. Okay. I'd never seen this before in Dallas-Fort Worth. I thought we all had shot at everything, but I know like Highland Park here in Dallas is real exclusive, and I just don't sell homes in that area. I sell $400,000 houses. I'm not selling $1 million houses, but I went into this community. The average is probably about 400 to 600. It was an over 55 community. There were like 3 houses selling, our agent selling all of them. And every time I would go up to try to look at a house to buy it, they already worked out a side deal. And it was getting really frustrating. And I'm like, I don't lose. So I can either fight you or we can play ball together. So I started calling them and say, hey, I want to get a head start on the opportunities. And I did. 2 of the agents sent me houses that were not listed, and I had first shots at both of them, at least in their playing field. And I was able to secure one of them. So that was a grand slam for my buyers. My buyer was getting frustrated with the whole thing, looking like I didn't know what I was doing, because I couldn't compete with these other deals. But that's what I ended up doing. And I was able to secure using, their small network of opportunities that were coming up. So that's something that I did to try to win. FSBO website, I think I mentioned that earlier, and the same thing with Zillow FSBO. So anyway, just some thoughts for you guys that you have buyers, because all of us probably have some buyers, and they're waiting for perfect timing to get motivated. Well, maybe instead we give them the right opportunities. So there may not be pocket listing websites anymore, Tracy. This is a couple years ago. I was doing some homework for my meeting that I do at 11, and I was going to see if they had them. A lot of them kind of went away because the MLS put lots of pressure on agents posting not posting on the MLS, and they kind of made it like very taboo.
You mentioned earlier that you've sold over 100 homes off market. Is there been one of all those opportunities that you mentioned about where to find them? Is there been one where you really, have sold a third of the houses through for sale by owners or whatever avenue? Is there one that?
No, all of them I sell through the MLS, but it's my purchasing side, right? Because I flipped.
That's what I mean. On your purchasing side, are there any of those areas that you have found like is really the number one? Like that's always my go-to first, because I've sold a third of my 100 houses off market.
Yeah. I mean, if you get comfortable in a market, there's areas that you'll do or that fit your wheelhouse and areas that you don't. There's other variables, right? It's price range. It's what my exit price point is. All those things are variables that matter. I didn't do $600,000-$700,000 houses. I did $250,000, $300,000 houses when they were done. Yeah. So that locks me into certain specific places, right? If it had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, and it was in our market, like a Grand Prairie, Arlington, Mesquite, HEB. I mean, I can name off all the different areas. Any of them in those areas, I'm in. I'll look at it and I'll look at the exit strategy on it, make sure I got a clean, fast turnaround. I did about 50 of them in my personal name, and I've done another 50 for other people because I do it as a consulting business. I've moved out of doing them for myself. And if going back to how you find them, if you really want to get into the investor side, which is where, I do a lot of my transactions, I don't do direct to seller. Again, I don't do cold calls. So mine have to go through generally a wholesaler. And I probably get 50 wholesale deals a day, and I'm just working through them, and I line them up with my investor buyers, and I just make the connections. And that's what I do a lot of, because I've done it for so long. I have a real good idea of what everybody wants to make the deal work. That's not a traditional business model for real estate agents. I know it's not for everyone, but that's something that I was doing long before I came to EXP. So
Can I reach out to you? You are in line where I'm going. My brand, what I'm trying to work on is called the As Is Realtor. And what you're talking about, take one, give one, and all that. And I understand that get the listings and the sellers. I'm helping distressed homeowners and trying to help distressed homeowners not give away the money away to cash investors and wholesalers. So I'm trying to reach those homeowners as well to wholesale their properties as well. And I'm working on my YouTube and all that stuff and trying to put all that together. So I would love to connect with you and talk to you more about that.
I posted my cell phone. Just text me.
Cool. Thank you.
Absolutely.
What else y'all got? What else is somebody working on that's generating business working for you guys in this market? Tracy, what are you doing these days? You're out there hustling, rocking and rolling all the time. She may. Tracy, you still there? She's still on, but she may not be in a place to talk. Most sellers want someone that, what is Shantae saying? That is experienced to list their home. But how can I gain the experience if I don't get the opportunity?
I can answer that.
Yeah, who would be able to walk me through?
Yeah, the simplest answer, Shantae, and I don't mean to jump in. I see these questions all the time. The easiest thing to do is always partner. You know, Kathy and I are going to sell your property, and we've got 100 million plus in sales. We're going to make sure you're taken care of from start to finish. Okay. She don't need to know that we're not like tied to the hip or part of an LLC, but we're connected. Kathy's going to help me. She sold tons of houses, and I'm going to leverage her. We're going to do third-party credibility. That's the easiest way to get, anything done, is building that credibility with someone that actually has done the work. And Kathy's going to take a call from me if I need help, right? I mean, because we're together. So that's the easiest way to promote yourself. Build some marketing material around that. I do it with all of my agents. I'm probably about 300 million in sales, and I leverage that with anyone that works on my team. I say, just tie me to it. Call me your partner. I don't care what you call me. We're business partners. We're a team. Find someone you can connect with, and offer them something in return, or say, hey, be my partner on this. I'll split it with you. You need to offer some commission and make it compelling for someone if you don't have an upline that's going to work with you, then find a partner that will. And it's what we did in commercial, right? Commercial, I know we don't do commercial real estate here, but if I want to get into commercial, you find an agent, I bring the opportunity and say, hey, you take half. Just tell me how you do it. And they will take you from start to finish. You got to give them enough carrot to make it worth it. So that's how you get into commercial, by the way.
I agree with both of those, Shantae. I would partner with somebody that's in your area. And are you a new agent, Shantae? Do you have a mentor?
Yes, ma'am. I am fairly new. It has not been quite a year just yet. But I have six and helped one person get into a rental commercial. But like I said, I only been representing the buyer side. I had a mentor. Yeah, that's that. uh I learned a little bit, with my second transaction. The first and the third just kind of been me just winging it and just asking people for help. But that's it. So I don't know really too much about anything on the seller side, but there was good points that you all mentioned. So I'm writing my notes down now.
And that's typical, and when you're new in real estate, you deal with typically a lot more buyers than you do sellers that first year or two. But 100% what Sean said is what I would encourage as well. Just partner with somebody, find an agent that's with EXP that's in the area that you respect. If it's not your mentor, that's maybe they're not doing a lot of business, find somebody in the area when you have a listing opportunity and say, look, I'm looking to learn. I've watched you, I respect you, you do a lot of business in this area. Would you be willing to partner with me on this listing? And let them take the lead and you just follow along and just be a sponge with them. You know, you can chime in as well since it's your connection and your contact, but I would let them take the lead potentially and just want to learn and be a sponge. How are they, you know, what are the questions they're asking when you're with the seller, right? You know, what are they recommending for marketing? All of those things, you know, how are you marketing it once you get that listing, right? Find out all that stuff. And then for it to be, you know, worth their time to really pour into you, like people are going to be, everyone in EXP is going to be willing to give you answers and guidance. And you come on here and you be like, oh my gosh, I got this listing I'm going in. How would y'all handle this? Like, we'll tell you all of that stuff. But if you really want somebody to hold your hand, you've got to probably just partner with them and split it with them on the, you know, your first 1 or 2 deals.
Okay, thank you.
Well, the flip side of that, the other thing that came to my mind, I remember the very first house I sold was a long, long time ago. You know, when we first get into real estate, we don't know what we're doing. The tests don't teach you that, right? But I remember the first house I sold, I just walked in and acted like I knew what the heck I was talking about. I didn't know what the heck I was talking about. To this day, in my mind, they never knew I was new. Like, I just walked in and buckled up my confidence and just acted like I knew what I was talking about and what I was doing. And so you can do that too. You know, very few people, what I'll tell you is very few people in all of my years of real estate have ever asked me, how many houses have you sold in this area? Or how many houses have you sold, period? You know, what's your track record? Because most agents, Sean may know this statistic, most sellers, I mean, that I think 7 out of 10 only interview one agent. So if you're first in the door and you come across confidently with them, you're going to probably end up with the listing. Again, I think it's 7 out of 10 only interview one person. So you're in most cases not going to be competing with somebody else.
Can I just mention that and absolutely teaming up with somebody and you can pay them to do that or pay them for that time. Even an agent that may not want to partner with you, but is willing to just take you along, and maybe they just say, hey, you know, Shantae is a new agent. She's just shadowing me today. You only have to go enough to kind of get your feet wet, a few of those, just to see how they walk, how they talk, what are they saying. So then you can kind of put your own words into it. You won't feel like you're absolutely lost. You've seen or heard, you know, somebody talk that way before, and you don't necessarily have to know everything, but if you see it being done, you'll be able to emulate it a little bit better when you go.
Yeah. And to that point, I think most agents in your area that are with EXP would allow you just to go to one of their listing appointments with them, right? And like Mike said, hey, I'm just, you know, Shantae is just shadowing me today, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I think most agents would let you just go along with them. So maybe that's what you put out there, you know, to the agents in your area. Hey, or just call some agents. I'm looking to get, you know, learn how to make, you know, to approach these sellers and deal with these sellers. Would you mind if I just tag along on one of your, you know, listing appointments? Good point, Mike. Anything else anybody wants to add to that? All right, we got about 5 or 6 minutes. Anybody else have anything that they want to talk about, or any struggles they're having with a certain deal that you want to get some input from a lot of great agents that are on here today? Everybody's just crushing it out there and doing and flying good.
I did want to mention, I came across an issue I've never come across before. I've got a buyer right now. And there was some water damage in a property, and the company tested the home. It was prior 1978. It was late 60s. And so it tested positive for asbestos.
Mm.
In the area that they tested in, it was in the garage. It turned out that it was the joint compound that had asbestos in it, not the sheetrock. And we thought that we had to go through the process, or the seller did, through the whole process. And it's a long drawn out. Once you find out, you got to send those results to the state. There's a 10-day stay to where nobody can do anything. Long and short, the rule is anything under 32 square feet of affected area does not have to be mitigated. If it's under 32 square feet. And so since it was only in the joint compound, they were able to open those areas up enough to cut away enough of sheetrock to make that repair and avoid the mitigation period and requirements through the state through asbestos.
Did the buyer have that tested? Is that what happened?
No, the seller called a company in to make the water damage repair, and they tested it. I guess that's part of a requirement now that you have to test it. And the weird thing is when they tested it, the first people that went in and tested it and they sent it in, well, without knowing quite the requirements, again, we thought that they were going to have to go through the whole rigmarole. But then when they looked at it a second time, they said, well, no, this was done incorrectly, since it's only joint compound in the area, and it will fall under 32 square feet. That's the catcher. 32 square feet or less does not have to be mitigated. So
Never had that come up in all my
never
career.
had come up in 20 years.
That's what makes our profession so fun. It's always something new just popping up. Just when you think you know it all, you get schooled.
I always have simple answers for a lot of those things, right? If the only thing we got to do is get a buyer peace of mind, right? That's what our objective is. So whatever gets them to that level is going to meet whatever your threshold is.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a fun story. I just listed a house, and I normally have a pretty good read if the buyer agent has done this for a while or has some skill. And I thought they did. They were older agent. They were talking about, doing a number of these VA loans and showing experience. So I usually don't get too involved in how they do things. I let them kind of flow through it, because I have a thing where I know when houses are not going to close, right? You just know, you have that sense. You're like, okay, you've already missed a few of these things. We're going to have problems. So I normally try to get ahead of lesser experienced agents to protect them and make sure the buyers can close and the sellers can close on time. The buyer agent was talking to the lender. We did a 3-week closing. And because the closing was so tight, the lender's like, hey, is there anything I need to know in order to make this close date? Because I'm sure it costs them extra money to close fast. And the buyer agent said, well, we have repairs. And their lender said, well, what kind of repairs are we dealing with? And he goes, well, I'll just send them to you. And he sends them the repairs. And we have a crack in the pool repair. We've got a roof potential replacement repair. I mean, we have some significant things. And I'm telling you all this, Mike, because the bar for the buyer to have peace of mind and the bar for the lender is not even remotely the same. And I said, you just quadrupled our work. And the lender doesn't have the relationship on these repair items. They have appraisals. They have things that they're responsible for. But when we're start dealing with repairs, now you just force them into the repair approval business. So got through everything. We were able to close. I think we closed 1 day late, but it was quadruple the work for us in order to meet their bar for expectation. So very frustrating that, I usually have a pretty good read, but I missed this agent completely. And he totally goofed that thing up and cost us a lot of extra time. So peace of mind is all we need to achieve when we're dealing with remediation issues. If we can achieve that. And the big question is at 32 square foot or whatever the term is, do we need to now disclose this? What's the question? I don't know the answer to that, but that's going to be important. If it's under the threshold of importance for some reason, that may be our threshold in reporting.
The seller did send us, for their own sake, they did send us a revised seller property disclosure that it was or it did test positive for asbestos, but the repair area fell under the state required mitigation. Is what the seller's property disclosure. For us, the biggest thing was it was a time delay of an additional probably 13 days it was going to cost us. But we're now past that. They're taking care of those areas, and everybody is good. Obviously we did not ever mention anything to the lender. We kept that, everything separate, all repairs, so the lender doesn't know anything.
Gotcha. Well, there's no reason to involve them if that's not their part of the transaction. That won't change the value of the property, won't change what they're doing as a lender, so leave them alone.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, I got to jump on my other meeting. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Well, we're at the top of the hour, everybody. So next Tuesday, we're having Leo Perea and Lauren Coleman. She's a VP of the East Coast broker operations. They're going to be on to talk to us, the Freedom Team, about this whole NAR lawsuit, how to best deal with this with clients, what's EXP's position, what are we doing? That's all going to be going into effect in July. So our CEO, Leo, and Lauren are going to be on next Tuesday, same time, same place. So let your team know, get everybody on here. It's going to be a good information from him to handle not only clients are dealing with, but what again EXP's position is and how they're handling it. So see you guys next Tuesday. Thanks for everybody and your input. Have a great week, guys and girls. Bye.